On the stands, opposite of the stands, apparently a bomb went off about 20 feet from where I was standing. I couldn't tell whether it came from a storefront or from the trash can. I was told it was related to the trash can. About 6 to 7 people went down on my left, and I apparently was the last one in the line, so I did not get a scratch.
Even though 6 or 7 people right next to you went down?
Yes.
With what kind of injuries?
Most of them were leg injuries. One gentleman had both legs below the knees blown off. The girl that I treated, I could not find any obvious injury to her torso, but she arrested.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. How old a girl?
She looked to be between 24 and 30.
And just the concussive power of the explosion.
That's what I assumed. It was kind of unique that the people had singed facial hair and stuff, which didn't seem to fit on their face, but their injuries were on their legs, and not much injury between the torso at all. So I have to assume this was a blast injury to her chest.
Boy, that is so hard to hear. I am so sorry. What you're reporting is consistent with what we're hearing from so many of the hospitals in the area, so many injuries to the lower legs and limbs. Remind me again, how far do you think you were from the point of the explosion?
Probably 20 feet, one storefront down. My ears were ringing. It blew everything out of the storefront. One storefront down from me. And like I said, everybody to my left basically went down. And like I said, almost everybody had leg injuries, but the girl arrested, and I could not find anything on her torso.
Wow, well, that is as close as we've heard from anybody right now, just 20 feet from the scene. Dr. Painter, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I want to go back now to Martha Raddatz at this point, as we're seeing these scenes continuing of the area around the blast, 2 blasts at 250. We just heard from Dr. Painter right there. Injuries that were concentrated for the most part, injuries to the lower limbs, but a lot of power there. He was lucky simply to be able to get away from this. What more have you been able to learn from federal officials about these explosions?
Basically, George, exactly what we've seen. I mean, they are on the scene trying to find out whatever they can in terms of shrapnel, in terms of evidence that they're finding on the scene. But those kinds of injuries are exactly what's consistent with that type of blast, those lower leg injuries. I know soldiers on patrol often suffer those lower torso leg injuries because of the blast, because of the power of a blast like that and its concentration. And again, these are people who are out there in shorts and T-shirts, absolutely no protection. And placing a device in the middle of a crowd like that, you are going to get terrible, terrible injuries like that.
And we heard from one of the eyewitnesses on the scene, and you lived in Boston for a long time as well. This seems to have been timed for the moment when more and more people would be congregating near that finish line several hours after the winners had crossed, but when a lot of friends and family members would be coming, when a lot of the parties would be starting in late afternoon in all of those bars, all of those restaurants, all of those hotels around that scene. We've already heard several of the hotels in lockdown and evacuated.
It is exactly the time when friends and family would be gathering. There's the crowd that comes early, there's the crowd that wants to see the winners, and there's the crowd that runs it for fun, the crowd that really wants to finish one of those marathons and see their family member cross that finish line. Looking at that blast to me and seeing those people just about to cross the finish line is really heartbreaking. But that is precisely, clearly, what the bomber was trying to do. Get those spectators, get those runners, place that bomb or both of those devices right in the middle of a crowd that was coming together to do nothing but celebrate.
And, Martha, we're also hearing now from Senator Dianne Feinstein, the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. She has called this a terrorist incident, but that doesn't necessarily describe who might have been behind the terrorist incident.
It doesn't really, and I think anybody is going to look at an incident like this and say it was related to terrorism in some way because they were going after a crowd, they were going after a crowd of innocents like that, but it doesn't really mean it was domestic or international. Again, want to remember the Times Square bombing. I'm thinking back to Olympic Park bombing many, many years ago. There are a variety of suspects they will be looking at here, both domestic and international.
Okay, Martha Raddatz, thank you very much. It is now 6 o'clock on the East Coast. For the last 3 hours, we've been reporting on these explosions at the Boston Marathon. Shortly before 3 p.m. this afternoon, near the finish line, 2 bomb blasts at the Boston Marathon. At least 2 have died. Dozens injured, including children. Many reports of severed limbs from eyewitnesses and others on the scene. With the bombs have been described by federal officials to our Pierre Thomas as small portable devices. Dozens have been admitted to the hospitals with shrapnel-type wounds. There was a third blast at the John F. Kennedy Library in Boston, but officials cannot say whether that was related, a fire and blast in the John F. Kennedy Center Library in Boston. I do want to go, though, now to Pierre Thomas, covering this all afternoon long from the Justice Department. And, Pierre, there is some indication now that there might be a person of interest in this case?
Yeah, I've spoken to federal authorities that there's a person that they apparently want to talk to, but this official was cautioning me that this might be just part of routine operating procedure to get additional information. We are trying to dig deeper into that, but again, you have the fog of war. This is a person that has been identified that they want to talk to who's at the hospital. We don't know much more than that at this particular
time. So it was at the hospital, so they actually know where this person is, they know who this person is, they will be able to talk to this person?
Again, assuming that that person is conscious, they will be able to talk to that person. Again, my sources are reaching out to people in the Boston area near that hospital to try to get additional information, but no confirmation that this is a suspect at the moment.
We're waiting for President Obama now, expected to address the nation in about 8 minutes at 6:10 Eastern Time. ABC has been calling area hospitals around the blast site, counting at least 86 patients in the hospital right now. We've heard from several eyewitnesses all afternoon long. Take a look at what they heard, what they saw.
I just walked away 15 feet away, 20 feet, and, you know, a bomb went off, and it knocked me to the ground, and then, you know, everybody started running, panicking. And my first instinct, I knew where the bomb went off, and they were standing right there, and I started to go back that way towards it, and another bomb went off, and then I fell to the ground again. People were running, you know, you were getting trampled.
I think we were all just in shock, and then 15 seconds later, further up on the right-hand side, a second bomb, this is where an explosion went off, also on the right-hand side of the street. You know, then chaos ensued.
There are massive amounts of ambulances driving up to the medical tent, and they are bringing out people one by one and putting them onto those ambulances and taking off. In the meantime, police are pushing people further and further back.
I saw quite a few casualties coming back. I saw one guy with his legs gone at the knees, some ankles and feet missing, shrapnel wounds on people on the sides of the head, and other things. It just, we're not good.
I saw the first explosion happen, and there was some commotion. I saw fire and smoke, and I didn't know what it was. And then from about me to where that gentleman is standing over there, I saw a trash can explode, and people started throwing down the barricade and running over each other, and I ran in the other direction as fast as I could.
One of the eyewitnesses there giving us information we had not heard before, seeing a trash can explode, perhaps another clue. And as we know, the police commissioner of Boston, the governor of Massachusetts, police officials have been calling on all eyewitnesses, anyone near the scene, anyone who may have heard something, who may have taken a video, to send that in. We know that law enforcement officials are going to be combing through that for the next several days and hours, trying to determine exactly what happened here. I do want to go to John Karl now at the White House, in the White House briefing room. John, we're expecting to hear from President Obama in just a few minutes. What can you tell us about what he's done since he heard of these explosions?
He was informed almost immediately after this happened in Boston, George, and got on the phone with his Homeland Security Secretary, Janet Napolitano, and his FBI Director, Mueller, got on the phone with the governor of Massachusetts and the mayor of Boston, and he has also spoken with Speaker of the House, John Boehner, telling him what he has known. The president will speak in a few minutes. We'll find out the very latest on this, but we also know that the intelligence committees up on Capitol Hill have been briefed. Dianne Feinstein, the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, said a short while ago flatly, it is a terrorist incident. That was the chairwoman of the Intelligence Committee in the Senate. It is a terrorist incident. She added it could be foreign, it could be homegrown. That now the big question.
But she did say it had... all the hallmarks of a terrorist attack. As you said, they've been briefed by intelligence officials, preliminary briefing by intelligence officials. See the president right there with his chief of staff, Dennis McDonough, former national security official, as well. There will be a formal briefing tonight of intelligence officials and the Intelligence Committee. We also know now that House Speaker John Boehner is going to have a second moment of silence on the House floor.
Yes, that's right. The Speaker himself will lead the moment of silence, I'm told, within the half an hour on the House floor from the Speaker.
Again, 2 dead, at least 86 injured in those 2 bomb blasts at the Boston Marathon shortly before 3 p.m. This afternoon. We have heard from Pierre Thomas and others that there had not been about the Boston Marathon. Of course, officials are going to go back and comb through everything they've seen and everything they've heard and everything that came in before that now to see if there were clues there that they missed. And also, Pierre Thomas, we have just a few minutes now before the president comes forward. No one has stepped forward to take any kind of responsibility for this so far, but as you just reported moments ago, officials may be wanting to interview what they describe as someone who could be a person of interest at a hospital near the scene.